Okay, 3D Max Basics, just a short video to go over the basic setup that you will want to be familiar with when using 3D Max. The first thing to pay attention to is associating your 3D Max project with a folder so that you get all of the directories and folders that Max needs. So starting up, first thing we'll do is go File menu, Project, Create Default. You don't need to have a folder already made, you can do it here. So I'm going into my 3D Max folder and I'm going to create a new folder here, call this 3D Basics, hit return and then select that folder. Okay, so outside here of Max you'll see the 3D Max folder, 3D Basics, and Max has created all the directories there. So that means we could immediately go to Save As here in Max, and our scene will be directed to the correct folder here. 3D Max, that's my folder for all of my Max projects, my new project directory, and it's in the Scenes folder. So that's really nice and easy to do just by going to File, Project, Create Default. The second thing to do is to look at your units. So go to the Customize menu, Unit Setup, and in here I prefer to use generic units. That way you don't have to worry about typing in CM or M for whatever unit, or not seeing them rather in the number fields. So generic units, and then to set what the generic units are, click System Unit Setup, and then here we can set 1 unit equals 1 centimeter. If you're doing, centimeters are perfect for sort of human scale models. If you're doing something large like a building, then you might want to use meters. Okay, either way, set your units there, click OK, and then click OK. Remember our keyboard shortcuts for our viewports. We can select them here in this view by clicking on them, and Alt-W will full screen the current viewport that's selected. I like to work mainly in my perspective viewport here. Okay, let's have a look at this grid now. The home grid, so this will be set to the units that we have in our units set up, but we can adjust the grid itself by right clicking on the snaps toggle, because that will pop up the grid and snap settings window just with a single right click on the button. And then we have the home grid tab. We can see grid spacing every 10, okay, that will be 10 centimeters in my case. Perspective view grid extent is set to 7, and we can see that because there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if I want to increase that, I can just increase the grid extent. Maybe I'll set that to 15, and then I can close the window, and now I've got a larger grid to work with. So this is quite handy when you want to do measurements. Alright, the next thing we'll look at here is just creating primitives. So in our Create tab, I can create a box. I'm just clicking box, and I'm going to drag out the base and lift it up. Remember, when we create primitives, we have a parameters area here where we can set numbers. So I could go 50, 50, 50, and I've got a 50 centimeter box. I'm going to switch over to my Move tool now, which will take me out of this create mode. So if I click the Move tool, you'll notice that the parameters here are no longer visible. That's okay, but just be aware that they do disappear. We can get to them on the Modify panel, but that can sort of trip you up. But initially, after I've created my box or my primitive and set some initial parameters, I switch to my Move tool. Remember, the shortcut keys for your 3 main tools here are W, E for rotate, and R for scale. So W, switch to the Move tool, and then we'll center it on the home, on the world axis here, by right clicking the spinners next to the X and Y fields. It's already at 0 on Z. Okay, and now it's perfectly centered on the world. That becomes important later for exporting. Up here it says default shading. Remember we have a toggle F4. Hitting the F4 key gives us edged faces, so it gives us a white line where we have edges, and that's the way it's best to work with edged faces on, and you can just toggle it off when you need to see your model better. F3 toggle on or off is for wireframe. Once I've created my primitive, then my next thing I'll do is convert it to a editable poly. So we can right click the object, convert to editable poly, convert to editable poly, and then we get our familiar modify panel with our sub-select modes here. These selection modes are hotkeys as well, just from 1 for vertex, 2 for edge, 3 for border, 4 for polygon, and 5 for element. Okay, so that's quite a useful way to remember those. To go back to the top level, remember you just either click the current sub-select mode again and it will take us back to the top level. Another quick way I like is to just right click anywhere, and then you'll see you've actually got sub-select modes here, but you can also choose top level, which will just deselect, and then we're at the object level. Okay, let's go into polygon mode and have a quick look at some things. So I can select a face, and remember I have some edits that I can do here in the edit polygon section, and it's best to use the settings button next to the command. Clicking the settings button brings up this little gizmo, and I can just drag on those spinners, so I'll do an inset here. Clicking the X button will cancel, and clicking the tick will apply. Clicking the plus button will apply and allow me to do another inset, so that can be quite handy too. So I'll apply that. I'm just going to drag that up there. Remember to use and think about your shrink and grow. It can really handy for selecting. So if I grow my selection, it's just going to grow outwards to the next level, really, and I can bring that up. And I can click shrink, will take it back, and I can do some more transformations. If I grow twice, it does that, and then I could say scale this whole top. And I'll just go back to top level, and there I've created that shape. Okay, so that's all for this short video, but it's really important to know how to set up your Max project and get started modeling quickly, and hopefully that will help you. More videos to come.